But I thought we would start today with just talking about some of these quotes about planning. A few months ago, as I was starting to think about this presentation, I just typed that in one day. I just said, famous quotes about planning. And I think there were probably over 100, easily. So I picked out some of my favorites, and what I'd like you to do is, you don't have to necessarily do this in groups, we'll just do this all together for now, but I want you just to react to each of these quotes about planning, what you think the person was trying to say, or just any thoughts in general that you have. So here's an Eisenhower quote: "Plans are nothing, but planning is everything." Crickets? No? Anyone? Any thoughts? Go ahead. Okay, wow, that's really good. I should have written that one down. The process is more important than the product. Yeah, right? I mean, planning is important, but you can't really know how it's going to turn out in the end. Okay, good. Ben Franklin is often credited with this quote. Matter of fact, there's a lot of people who have said this over the years, but failing to plan is planning to fail. Probably heard that one. That's a pretty famous one, right? You know, your plans might not work out, but if you don't plan, probably isn't going to work out. All right, next one. Expect the best, plan for the worst, and prepare to be surprised. If that sounds like your life, you know the guy hit it pretty good, right? I mean, yeah, you plan, you expect, and of course things always don't turn out quite the way you want. Yeah, okay. A goal without a plan is just a wish. And if anybody knows French and pronounce that guy's name, go right ahead, but I'll just leave it up there for now. Thoughts about that one? Yeah, right, you understand the concept behind that, right? You can have goals, but you got to have a plan to reach the goal, and if you don't, it really is just a wish. Okay, this one also is quoted by many people, but I think Vince Lombardi is the one who made it famous. Plan your work, and then work your plan. Yeah, somebody just told me that they're thinking about renaming the Super Bowl trophy to the Belichick trophy. Ooh. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but I've heard, there's rumblings about that apparently. All right, this one's kind of interesting. If Plan A doesn't work, remember the alphabet has 25 more letters. Yeah, you might have to go back to the drawing board, right? Okay, just a couple more. This is an old Yiddish proverb. You maybe heard it fleshed out a little bit more. If you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans. Man plans, God laughs. Right? Just the concept that somehow we might have control over our lives and think that we know what's going on. And the second I start thinking, hey, I got my life pretty well under control, I know what's happening, God seems to like to just throw little curveballs and say, yeah, just maybe try this out. Okay, and then the last one, thought this one was kind of interesting. Couldn't find the source of this quote. God may wreck your plan when he knows your plan will wreck you. Probably some wisdom in that one, huh? Just, and I think that's really going to be the kind of the crux of what we're going to talk about today is there's frustration in having plans that you and I make fail. But rather than spending a lot of time being frustrated by about a failed plan, maybe we're far better off looking for the alternative. Where's God directing us? Where's he pushing us? Where's he taking us that this plan failed, and what's plan B, plan C, plan D, whatever it needs to be? All right, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Whoops, I missed a slide there. Here's some thoughts that I know people have about planning, and if you look back at those quotes, they kind of all factor around maybe these two things at least a little bit. Maybe either God is really not all that interested or he's uninvolved in our planning. You know the old Bette Midler song, he's watching from a distance, right? He's not all that concerned about what's happening in our lives from day to day. And, the fatalistic approach, God's already decided. Why should I make great plans for my life when God has already decided what's going to happen in my life? Think about that just for a little bit. And I'm going to give you about a minute. Why don't you talk about that with people next to you? Let's come back and talk about the dangers of either one of those extremes. Either thinking that God really isn't interested in my plans, or the other side of that he's already decided, so my plans don't really matter. Okay, go ahead. Talk with somebody near to you, and then we'll take some answers. All right, that sounded like some pretty lively discussion. Thanks, I can't whistle, so that was great. Sounds like lively discussion. That means we're going to have some really good answers. That'll be awesome. All right, give me some suggestions. Pick either one. Doesn't matter to me which one you want to pick, but what are the dangers of one of those extremes? Anybody want to just kind of share a danger that you can see if your thought process is like that about planning? Eric. Yeah, just give up responsibility, right? I don't have to do anything. That's when the sofa becomes important, right? Go ahead. Okay, no direction. Or maybe worse, I'm responsible for my direction in life, right? Yeah, that's an extreme danger that it's me, it's all up to me. Okay, anything else that you thought of there? Right, absolutely. Yeah, the whole thought is something's already decided and it's bad, then that's when the blame gets directed to God, right? Because if God's already decided the plan. I go back to I think it was my Midler year at seminary. That's your second year at the seminary. And I remember having this discussion, this debate in class, and the debate was basically this. Can we, as human beings, by the choices that we make, shorten our lives, or has God already decided how many years we're going to live in this world? And usually what the professor did is it was like winding up a toy and just letting it go and listening to people talk. Because you know what the answer is? Yes. Yes is the answer, right? Both sides are true. God has given us choices. He's given us choices that we can make in this life, and he also knows exactly how long our life will last. I use this one with my high school students a lot. I tell them this. I say, just picture this for a second. Today, February 11th, 2017, if you would have asked God in eternity what John Bilitz was going to wear to the Men of His Word conference in 2017, February 11th, he could have told you. But when I stood in front of my closet yesterday, because I came over last night, when I stood in front of my closet yesterday, God didn't make me pick that out. I chose it. But he knew from eternity what I was going to choose. Isn't that amazing? When you think about that, it kind of blows your mind. Because it's not just John Bilitz that God knows that about. He knows that about each one of you too. And it's not just your clothes that he knows that about, but every single aspect of your life, and mine too. I don't think we understand even remotely the power of the omniscience of God, what it means to truly know all things. And that certainly factors in when it comes to talking about planning. Planning for our lives, planning for our futures, making the choices that we do. It is a huge comfort to know that every choice, every thought, every plan that comes through this little puny brain of mine, God already has factored into what's best for me. That's pretty amazing to think about. You know this passage pretty well, and it's kind of where we're going to start today, Jeremiah 29:11, because this is one that people quote a lot when they talk about planning. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And this is the God who has given you also a mind to plan. And this is the planning that we're going to talk about today as we kind of discover what's God's plan for me.